and welcome once again to Caleb Blake's Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for the book Star Wars I, Jedi by Michael Stackpole. This is a Star Wars Legends book. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. It's been in my collection for quite a while, and I just had never gotten around to it till now. But this is one that I've been interested in for a few reasons. First of all, it's a standalone, and I want to read more standalones in Star Wars because a lot of the stuff I'm reading now is like New Jedi Order and stuff like that, so I want to get into some more of the standalones. But also, this one isn't one that really matters to me that much, but this book is, as far as I'm aware, the only Star Wars novel, in terms of the adult novels at least, that has ever been written in the first person, which is just kind of a cool novelty. And then this book also ties in heavily with the Jedi Academy trilogy, which is a trilogy that nowadays I don't love entirely. I really love the first book. I think the second book's pretty good. The third book I think is just like kind of okay. But that was kind of my first real step into the Star Wars Legends books, as far as anything that wasn't like a novelization. My first one technically was the Force Unleashed novelization, but my first like original Legends books were the Jedi Academy trilogy, so I was interested in it for that reason as well. So I was really looking forward to reading this one. It's from what I've heard, gotten a little bit of a mixed reception, but I was curious to check it out anyway. So to start talking about the book itself, some stuff I enjoyed about this book. First of all, I did love the connections with the Jedi Academy trilogy. It's not as much of the book as I maybe would have liked personally, and there's some issues that I take with the way that it's implemented as well, which I'll talk about later. But I did love the way that this connected to the Jedi Academy trilogy, and the beyond that, of course, that trilogy was about Luke starting his Jedi Academy, at least in part. There was other stuff going on too. And this book has Corran Horn, who is the main character of this book, going to the Jedi Academy during that section of the book, and training a lot, as a Jedi, which I really enjoyed seeing the training. I really enjoyed kind of the different discussions about the Force and things like that. And he does that partially in order to prepare himself, in order to train himself, because the kind of inciting incident for this book is that his wife, Mirax, is basically taken away or kidnapped or something, and he doesn't know where she went. She just disappears, and he's like, I gotta go find her. And so he goes to the academy in order to learn and things like that, and he gets involved in some other stuff as well. But my favorite part of the book was the Jedi Academy. There were also some other parts later on that I really enjoyed. There's a section kind of around 3/4-ish through the book that I really enjoyed, where he's kind of this almost phantom-like character, kind of being portrayed as trying to just really kind of terrify the people around, the bad people around, which was kind of fun. And things like that, and there were parts of this book that I did really enjoy, for sure, particularly when they had to do with things like talking about the Force, talking about the philosophy of the Jedi, talking about the dark side and trying to avoid the dark side and the way that can impact you, and things of that nature. In general, that's what I'm really drawn to about Star Wars, is the talks about the Jedi and the Sith and the Force, and so that was my favorite part of this book as well. And I also did really enjoy the action in this book. There's quite a decent amount of action in here that I really enjoyed as well. And this book also ties in a lot to the X-Wing books, because this is kind of, Corran is one of the main characters in that series. I have not read much of that series, but if you happen to also be a fan of the X-Wing books, then this is probably one you'll want to look at as well. In addition to the Jedi Academy trilogy, if you're into that, then you'll probably want to check this one out. And I also did enjoy Corran as a character. I didn't connect with him hugely, but I enjoyed the arc that he went on during this book. He feels to me like a different character at the end than he was at the beginning in some ways, which I did enjoy. I enjoyed seeing his transition and the things that he learned and the things that he went through over the course of this book, and how that changed him and how that affected him, and things like that. However, there are some things in here that I also was not quite as crazy about. The main thing with this book, there's two big issues that I have when it comes to this book. One of them specifically addresses the tie-ins with the Jedi Academy trilogy, and the other is just kind of generally. I'll talk about the general stuff first. To me, this book feels very kind of all over the place. Like I said before, I really loved the Jedi Academy. I really loved that section towards the end, and there were some things here and there that I also liked. But to me, this book kind of went like from at the beginning, I was just not really, I was into it, but I wasn't like super on board. And then I loved the Jedi Academy section, and then there was this bit in between where I was just like, that's it's fine. And then there's this part towards the end that I really enjoyed, and then the actual ending, I was just again, kind of wishy-washy. It's a hard word to say. It was like just a very inconsistent book to me. There was parts of it where I was super into it, and other parts where I just really didn't care that much, which was really weird to me. And also, it just kind of felt all over the place to me narratively as well. Like it felt like it was just jumping from thing to thing to thing, and it didn't feel very cohesive to me in that sense. And I think that partially is due to the way the Jedi Academy storyline is implemented, which I will talk about now. The Jedi Academy trilogy entirely takes place within the span of this book, which works fine because I enjoyed seeing the way that crossed over, but to me it felt really weird. There's definitely this sense that you're not getting the full story. There's definitely the sense of, this book feels like it should either have been like a much larger story in order to encompass all of that, or just cut some things out and made itself a little shorter, because I do also feel like this book to me was a little long. But it just felt really weird to kind of shove Jedi Academy right into the middle of this book. As much as I love that section of the book, and it was my favorite part of the book, it just felt really weird, the implementation of it. And also because, obviously writing this book, you don't want it to directly contradict Jedi Academy, Corran Horn has to be conveniently absent for all of the major events of that trilogy that happen at the actual Academy, which also just felt really weird. And it makes sense, I get why that had to happen. And if you read this book in a vacuum, maybe it works better. But as someone who has read Jedi Academy many times, that was super noticeable to me. I was just like, man, he's just missing everything important that's going on, which was also, partially irritating and also kind of funny. But just the way that was implemented felt really weird to me. However, I do think this book does make a good companion piece to the Jedi Academy trilogy. So if you are reading that, or you're going to read that soon, or things like that, I would recommend reading this directly afterwards, because I think it makes kind of a nice companion piece. But just the way that was implemented felt really weird to me, as much as I did enjoy that section a lot. So this is kind of a weird book to me, in terms of my overall thoughts. There was parts of it that I absolutely loved, thought were amazing, and I was totally into it, like could not put it down. And then there were other parts where it felt kind of like a slog. So it's a very weird book to me. I can definitely see why it's gotten a little bit of a mixed reception within the greater, EU fan community. Because to me, that's how it feels. This book, like I said, goes from awesome to just not that amazing to pretty awesome again, and kind of back and forth, and it just feels really weird. But there were definitely some good parts of this book that I really enjoyed, and I would recommend reading it, especially again as a companion to the Jedi Academy trilogy. As far as a rating out of 10 that I would give iJedi, I think I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10. A really solid, enjoyable book with some great stuff in it, but also a lot of the stuff that wasn't those few great things just didn't quite click with me for whatever reason. And that's just kind of how I was left feeling with this book. Was it had some great stuff in it, but overall, not much of an impression outside of those couple of things. So kind of a weird feeling book to me. It's one of the more unique and interesting experiences that I've had reading a Legends book, I guess I will say, which certainly has value in itself. But to me, this book also was just like I said, all over the place in a lot of ways. So generally positive on it, but it did have some also big drawbacks for me. So that's pretty much all I got to say about this one. So let me know in the comments if you have read iJedi and what you thought of it. If so, if you felt similarly to me, or if you felt very differently from me. I know I've spoken to some people who kind of felt kind of the opposite to me, where they didn't really care for some of the stuff that I loved, but enjoyed everything that I was not as into. So it's kind of interesting the way that kind of stuff goes. Let me know what you thought of this one if you've read it in the comments, and all that stuff. stuff. So that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.